is, how do we get here? It's my favorite part. The second part, just take this phrase away. We got here as a race because of unexamined assumptions. Things that we were doing that we really didn't carefully consider. We really didn't look at the unexamined assumptions. And it starts out with things like, well, unexamined assumptions like resources are here for the human beings to use, there's no end to them. That's an unexamined assumption. More is better. People are on top. Success means money. Those kind of unexamined assumptions. But then it goes to this very profound insight, I believe. The unexamined assumption that has influenced the human race more than any other throughout the centuries is that we are separate. That we are separate. You got it on your t-shirts. We're all one. Thich Nhat Hanh says it. We're beginning to grasp it. But we really don't understand what it means that we are made of the same stuff. This is not a new thing to say that we are all one. The Mayan culture has a saying that I just love. Tú eres mi otro yo. You are my other me. You are my other me. The Mayan people realize that. The Catholic Church has used the phrase mystical body, right? We never explained it. It was one of those things that if you ask too many questions, father or sister would say, well, it's a mystery. We don't understand it. And they're right. It's a mystery. What is the mystical body? What is sanctifying grace? What is the energy that holds us together? So that's the kind of thing. Taylor, when Taylor says, when we find, now this is a paraphrase, you all understand, when we finally figure out what it really means to love, when we have unleashed the energies of love, it'll be as big as the discovery of fire. So this isn't new. But I think that the time is different because we have access to the technology and the knowledge. Because scientists are now saying, Eureka! My God, this thing is made of the same stuff as this, and what does that mean? And what's the energy connection? We are on the cusp of a transformative, evolutionary leap for the human race. I really believe that. Now, we're on the cusp, so does that mean that any of us are going to see? Maybe, maybe not. It all takes, what? A long, long time. 13.7 million years to get us here this afternoon. It may take another few million years. If we get there. The thing about this time is, what is the urgency of this time to stop this warmongering? What is the urgency given the technology that we've got? What do we need to do to be doers to stop what's happening in our world? And I think part of it is really raising awareness. It really is not talking to I can't assume that everybody in this room agrees with what I'm saying, but I can assume that most of you are more or less friendly toward it. We've got to start talking in places where they would be saying, what kind of a crackpot is this? You know, we've got to move out. We've got to get out. I've got to get out of the comfort zone. I assume I'm not the only one. We have to take this message of everything is connected to everyone else. The other thing that I think is so important about this new, what I would say is like this evolutionary spirituality, is it's saying to us what most of us in this room have learned the hard way in our own spiritual journey. You got to do what the scripture said. You got to look in the mirror, and you can't walk away and forget who you are. It can't be all talk. It can't be all talk. It's got to be putting yourself on the line and taking those risks and getting out there. I'm scared to death. I was sharing at lunch. I have a cousin who has been in the Air Force divorced forever. I chickened out and didn't invite her to come this afternoon. Why? Because it's uncomfortable. We gotta step out of we gotta start taking more risks, I think. Mary Coelho calls this journey inside, this interior journey, to sit down and find the me in there that is strong enough and centered enough and quiet enough to invite my cousin to a conversation that would be very hard, to strengthen our interior understanding of what it means when we say we're all connected. What a challenge then, if part of the evolutionary journey, the spirituality, the transformation, if part of this is your personal journey, and it means you gotta sit down and shut up. We live in a world where we feel better where we're busy. We live in a world that's success-oriented. It's a real challenge to us. We see escalating violence, we see blatant hatred, we see anti-immigration sentiment growing. We see that getting louder than we are. And yet, the Awakening the Dreamer program points out that there are millions of people like us and groups like this that are trying to make the world better. We have to network. We have to connect. We have to make our voice stronger. So I guess all I can ask you this afternoon, which you already know, I understand, you already know, is that we need to watch for signs of this awakening. It's awakening the dreamer, but changing the dream. If our modern world is asleep, how do we wake ourselves, but everyone, as many as possible around us? We need to watch for the signs of it. We need to talk about it. We need to bring it up in conversations. We need to talk about what's going on in our world and not be afraid to engage in the conversations. And there are signs. I'm very involved in the immigration issue. I have sat many hours in detention centers with immigrants. I have experienced that despair is my despair. We have experienced in this country that the despair of soldiers coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan and looking at the possibility of suicide and sometimes committing suicide, that's our despair. We hear about the drug war stuff in Mexico, and it's our insatiable, in this country, I mean, not us, but in this country, our insatiable thirst for something, for meaning. So we need to look for the signs of light. We need to look for the signs of awakening. We need to keep heralding them and showing them. We need to look for stuff like when Arizona passed those blasted anti-immigrant laws, and thousands of people, not just in this country, but in Spain and in Ecuador, in Mexico itself, but all around this country also, thousands of people marched on the 29th of July, because that's when those laws might have gone into effect. Do you know what one of the most common slogans was? We are all Arizona. Right? You've seen t-shirts, we are all immigrants. In Juarez, where they say 30,000 people have been killed in that escalating violence in this violent world that we live in, they are now, throughout Mexico, starting to use the slogan, we are all Juarez. It's not separate. You cannot keep starving people home to watch their children starve. They're going to come, it affects us. One of the flyers that I saw about this said I was going to talk a little bit about the morality. I think our morality of war, it's all changed. The morality of everything now is predicated on the fact that nothing is separate. We are all one. And that, the more that we work on that, the more that we trumpet it, the more that we step out and try to strengthen it both within ourselves individually the world, that's when we will be participating in this transformation.